their school.
Your father was Richard Bravo, right? Thought so. The entire nation was devoted to him over the last war.
Well, I listen to Bravo every evening.
Is there more to the story, Reggie?
Oh. Mrs. Allison comes back, pops open a can of sarsaparilla, gives it to her niece, and watches the poor girl go into convulsions for an hour.
Now, without thinking at all, what's your second association? No editing, no skipping.
Well, what I was thinking then was even sillier. I've always had the feeling that I was an adopted child, and that the Bravos weren't my real parents.
Oh, you poor, innocent darling. I mean, don't you know that the changeling fantasy is the commonest of childhood? Why, I once believed that I was a foundling with royal blood. I mean, Plantagenet, I think it was. And Emery was a Tudor. but have you always had the suspicion that you were adopted?
Yes, always.
But no evidence.
Only that I dream about it.
Oh, what kind of dream?
Monica, must I tell my dreams too? I'd rather hear the murder story.
Well, let's hear more of the story and then hear more from Christine.
Monica, why do you always dig at people's insides? You're a ghoul.
Of course, who isn't? Furnish the final details, Reggie.
Well, Mrs. Allison returns to town on an urgent errand. Turns out that she didn't pay the premium on the policy on Shirley's life, and this was the last day of grace.
Oh, stupid.
Well, Mrs. Allison certainly was crude. But there have been some really gifted operators in her line, some real artists, like Bessie Denker. Now, she never left a trace, never made a mistake, never committed an imperfect crime.
Who was this?
Just about the most amazing woman in all of the annals of homicide. She was smart, she was beautiful, she was ruthless. She never used the same poison twice. Her own father died of rabies, supposedly contracted from a mad dog. It just so happened that all of his money went to Bessie.
Bessie Denker?
Yeah.
Excuse me, I think
I think Christine's had enough, Reggie. Why don't we talk about something else?
Yes, of
Oh.
course.
And Will, though I'm still puzzled.
No, let's hear more about Dr. Kettlepot.
Oh, if you leave it to Monica. She has 3 subjects: sex, psychiatry, and pills. Sex and psychiatry are synonymous. You better take pills.
By pills, Emery means the modern pharmaceutical discoveries which have revolutionized medicine since 1935. If you took some, Emery, you'd be a better man.
Well, would you look at this? I have a lecture appointment at 3:30, and I won't be much ahead of time if I don't leave now.
Oh, pooh.
You'll have to forgive me for filling the air with horror stories, Mrs. Penmore.
You must forgive me, Mr. Tasker. I have some kind of phobia or mania. I'm quite unreasonable when I hear such things.
Well, I don't care for the stuff myself. I just keep on at it to keep on living. Take care, Mark.
Bye-bye, Bluebeard.
Goodbye, Reggie. See you on Sunday. I hear the red fish are running.
Oh, good.
I wonder if it's about time for the news. Christine, do you mind?
Oh, no, not at all. I'll just clear these off.
I'll lend a hand.
Having gone for many years in the field of foreign affairs, I interrupt this broadcast to I've been asked to announce that one of the children of the annual outing of Fern Grammar School was accidentally drowned in the bay this afternoon. The name of the is being withheld until the parents are first notified. More news of the tragic affair is expected momentarily.
It wasn't Rhoda. Rhoda's too self-reliant on how there was some timid, confused youngster afraid of its own shadow. Was it Rhoda?
To return to local affairs, I am now authorized to give the name of the victim of the drowning at the Fern School picnic. It was Claude Daigle, the only child of Mr. and Mrs. Dwight Daigle of 126 Willow Street. He appears to have fallen into the water from an abandoned wharf on the Fern property. It is a mystery how the little boy got on the wharf, for all the children had been forbidden to play near or on it. But his body was found off the end of the landing, wedged among the pilings. The guards who brought up the body applied artificial respiration without result. There were bruises on the forehead and hands, but it is assumed these were caused by the body washing against the pilings. And now back to national news.
Poor child. That's more than a boy.
They'll be sending the children home immediately. I mean, they must be on their way now.
This will be the end of the picnic.
I don't know what to say to her, Monica. Rhoda's 8. I remember I didn't experience death, or it didn't touch me closely till I was much older. A teacher I adored died, and my whole world changed and darkened.
You know, we'll go. This is no time for well-meaning friends to look on from the sidelines.
I don't know what to say to her, Monica.
You'll handle it better alone. Honestly, you will.
Yes, you will, dear. We'll go. This is between you and Rhoda now, and nobody else can help.
I suppose so.
Children get these kind of shocks all the time. Life's a grim business.
I'm glad you're here. She'll have missed lunch, so I'll make her a sandwich.
Well, we'll be upstairs in case you need us.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you both. Darling.
Mother, we didn't have lunch today because Claude Daigle was drowned.
Yes, I know. It was on the radio.
He was drowned and they were all rushing and calling and hurrying, but they couldn't make him alive again. So they told us the picnic was over and we had to go home.
I'm glad you're home.
So can I have a peanut butter sandwich and milk?
Did you see him, dear?
Yes, of course. They put a blanket over him.
Did you see him taken for the water?
Yes. They worked and worked, but nothing helped.
I want you to get those pictures out of your mind. I don't want you to be frightened or bothered at all. These things happen sometimes, and when they do, we simply accept them.
I thought it was exciting. Can I have that peanut butter sandwich now?
Yes, I'm getting it ready for you. Here, dear. Darling, you're handling yourself very well, but just the same, it was a very unfortunate thing to see. And remember, I understand how you feel, my darling.
I don't know what you're talking about, Mother. I don't feel any way at all.
Have you been naughty?
Why no, Mother? What will you give me for a basket full of kisses?
I'll give you a basket full of hugs.
I want to go outside and play on the asphalt.
Then you should.
You get to go playing and enjoying yourself when your little friend's still damp and drowning in the bay. Seems to me like you'd be at home crying your eyes out, or at least burning a candle in a blue cup.
Bye, Mother!
Bye, Rhoda!
You ask me, and I'd say you don't even feel sorry for what happened to that little boy.
Why should I feel sorry? It was Claude Daigle that drowned, not me.
Then the knight alit from his steed and sought what way he could find out of this labyrinth. And a path appearing, he began to make his way along it, and it began at that time to grow dark. The knight had not gone more than a dozen paces before he saw beside the path a beautiful lady, who laid out a fair damask cloth under an oak, and set thereon cates and dainties, and a flagon with 2 silver cups.
Mother,
Yes?
why aren't you reading?
Oh, I was just thinking, I guess.
What about? The accident?
Partly. And about my toll phone call. The circuits were busy.
What are Kates and Dainties?
Oh, little cakes, I think.
Oh,
And set there on Kates and Dainties and a flagon with 2 silver cups. Night, she called. Night, come eat and drink with me, for you are hungry and thirsty, and I am alone. Did you take your vitamins, dear?
I took one before. This is the second. I was saving it because I like the juice. This is wonderful having you read to me here.
You better take the 3rd one now before you get too sleepy.
There. I'll close my eyes, but I won't be asleep.
I know. Then the knight answered her, I thank you, fair lady, for I am not only hungry and thirsty, but I am lost within the forest. Then he let his palfrey graze nearby, and he feasted with the lady, who gave him loving looks, sweeter than the wine from the flagon, though the wine was sweet and strong. And in this fashion the time passed till the light was gone out of the wood, and it was dark. The knight heard the music of the hautbois softly playing, and he perceived that a fair pavilion stood nearby under the oak trees, lighted by a torch at the entrance, where there were servants going to and from, and he was aware that the going to not have daylight that had been created by the darkness. Rhoda. Rhoda. Yes, I did place a call to Washington, D.C. Yes, that's right, Mr. Richard Bravo. Bethesda 71293. Daddy? Oh, Daddy, I'm so glad I got you at home. I've been trying to get you all evening. Daddy, you said in your last letter you might be coming to Tallahassee. Well, that's not too far from here. Couldn't you come to see me? Couldn't you make it sooner? Could you? Oh, no. We're both coming. No, it's nothing like that. Oh, you met Kenneth at the airport? How is he? Tell him that I miss him. I love him very much. But Daddy, I must see you. No, it's not that. Daddy, do you remember that dream I used to have when I was a little girl? Well, I'm beginning to have it again and again. Well, I know what the Freudians say, but even they say dreams can't come out of any past but your own. Daddy, is there some terrible thing about my past that I don't know? No, nobody. It's a dream. Okay. All right, I'll be good. And remember, I love you. And tell Kenneth that I'm finishing my first letter to him tonight, and I'll send it airmail special in the morning. All right. Good night. Hello, Miss Pond. I meant to come and see you. I got your note.
Oh yes, we're in such distress, all of us at the school, and we've suffered such a blow losing one of the children that way. I am sure you'll excuse us for going over and over things.
I'm sure everyone has been puzzled and worried and saddened.
I have never known any happening to puzzle so many people in so many ways, and I can help so few of them. I've just come from seeing Mrs. Daigle. Of course, our first thought was of her. We've all only been touched lightly by this tragedy. She'll have to live with this the rest of her days.
I know.
And I have seen her several times now. And each time, she has asked me to find out from you if you had any possible clue to where the penmanship medal might be.
Was it lost?
Yes, it wasn't found with the body and has completely disappeared.
I didn't know this.
Good morning, Miss Fern.
Good morning, Rhoda.
Mother, may I go sit under the Scuppernong arbor for a while and read my book?
Yes, of course, Rhoda.
It's shady there, and I can see you from the window, and you can watch me from the window, and I like to be where you can see me.
Is it a new book?
Yes, it's Elsie Dinsmore. I won it at a prize at Sunday school.
I'll be here.
I'll be right there all the time. Goodbye, Miss Fern.
It did occur to me that Rhoda might have mentioned a detail or two to you that she hadn't remembered when she talked with me. You see, she was the last to see the little Daigle boy alive.
Are you sure of this?
Yes, about an hour after we arrived at the estate, one of the older people saw Rhoda and the Daigle boy at the far end of the grounds. He was upset and crying, and she was just standing in front of him, blocking his path. The older girl was among the trees, so neither child saw her, and she was just about to intervene when Rhoda reached forward and snatched at the metal, but he broke away and ran down the beach in the direction of the old wharf, where he was later found. And Rhoda followed along, not running, just walking, taking her time, the older girl said.
Well, has it occurred to you that the older girl might not be telling the truth?
Well, that isn't at all likely. She's one of the monitors that we put in charge of watching the younger children. She's 15 and has been with us since kindergarten days. No, Mrs. Pinmark, she was telling precisely what she saw. We know her well.
And this was the last time Claude was seen.
Yes. About an hour later, it might have been around noon, one of the guards saw Rhoda coming off the old wharf. He shouted a warning, but by then, she was on the beach again, so he just decided to forget the matter. Well, he didn't mention the girl by name, but she was wearing a red dress, he said. And Rhoda was the only girl who wore a dress that day. Around 1 when the lunch bell rang and Claude was missing when the roll was called, but you know the rest, I think.
Yes, but this is very serious. I mean, it's
Oh, not serious really, if you've seen as much of how children behave as I have. Suppose Rhoda did follow the Daigle boy out to the wharf. So many things could have happened quite innocently. He could have concealed himself in the old boathouse and then when discovered backed away from Rhoda and fell in the water.
Yes, that could have happened.
Now, Claude, although he looked frail, was an excellent swimmer, and of course Rhoda knew that. As soon as he fell in the water, she would have expected him to swim ashore. How could she know the treacherous pilings were in the exact spot where he fell?
No, she couldn't possibly.
You know, perhaps the thought in Rhoda's mind when the Daigle boy fell into the water was that he'd ruined his new suit and she'd get scolding for causing it. She could have thought with the logic of childhood that, you know, he even hid under the old wharf to frighten her or to scare her when he didn't swim ashore right away. Later on, when it was too late to do anything, she was afraid to admit what happened.
So you think she knows something she isn't admitting?
I think, like many a frightened soldier, she deserted under fire. Oh, this isn't a serious charge. Few of us are courageous and tested.
She has lied, though.
Is there any adult who hasn't lied? Smooth the lines in your brow, my dear. You are so much prettier when smiling.
I shall question Rhoda.
I wish you would, but I doubt you'll learn anything that you don't already know.
Oh, I did have a question. There was a floral tribute at Claude's funeral sent by the children of the Fern School. I suppose that the children shared in the expense, but I haven't been asked to pay any part of it.
Oh, well, the tribute wasn't as expensive as the papers seem to think. The money had been collected and the flowers paid for.
Perhaps you telephoned me and I was out.
No, my dear. We thought that you might want to send flowers individually.
But why would I want to send flowers individually? Rhoda wasn't friendly with the boy, and my husband and I have never met the Daigles.
I don't know, my dear, really. I mean, there are 3 of us, you know, and in the hurry of making
You know, you make excuses for Rhoda, and then you admit to not asking me to pay for the flowers. And the reason you give for not asking are obviously specious. I mean, does this mean that in your mind and the minds of your sisters that there's some connection between the Daigle boy's death and Rhoda's presence on that wharf?
I refuse to believe there is any connection.
And yet you have acted as if there were.
Yes, perhaps we have.
This is a terrible, terrible tragedy for Mrs. Daigle, as you say. I mean, she's lost her only child, but if there were any shadow over Rhoda from what has happened, then I shall have to live under it, and my husband too. And as for Rhoda, she wouldn't be happy in your school next year.